everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books that I'm planning to read in February. So the downside to February being the shortest month of the year means the fact that my TBR is just as big for February as it was for January is not a good sign. We're just going to have to see how it goes. So as I mentioned in my January TBR, I have 4 books that are getting priority every single month, or 4 books that fall into 4 categories. And then I have 3 different reading challenges that I'm wanting to do throughout the year. And those are kind of, if I get to them in the month that they are assigned, great. If I don't, it's fine. I move on. And then after those potentially 7 books, I can pretty much pick up whatever I want. So let's go ahead and start with the 4 priority books. So the first category is the book that I am picking for my book club. I started a book club in January called Distant Lands Book Club, and I am picking fantasy and sci-fi books, for the most part alternating between adult and YA. You'll understand why I say for the most part, because I kind of had an oopsie when it came to March. And then also books that are Christian or clean fiction. There is a little bit more fantasy than sci-fi, but February's book is a sci-fi book, and that is Cities of Smoke and Starlight by Allie Ernest. This is a self-published novel that is actually described as a YA science fantasy. So this one actually kind of blends the 2 genres. It has a steampunk feel to it, but apparently there is also some magic in it as well. And in this one, we have Case, who is a pilot, and I don't remember the main female character's name. But she has a job, or I think she's in school, but is no longer able to continue, but she doesn't want to return home. So she takes on a job to try to earn some money. Unfortunately, it means having to travel with Case, whom she clearly does not get along with. The 3rd book in this trilogy, I believe, is coming out later this year, and I've been really interested in this one for a while, so I was very happy to be able to get it into the book club. This one I own on Kindle, so I do not have a physical copy of it, but I am really looking forward to getting to it. And any information on the book club will be down in the description below. We have discussions on Fable, and I also have a book club Instagram account, so you can find all of that down in the description. Then the second book is for the Celebrating Jane Austen Readalong that Anne from In Search of Wonder and I are hosting this year. Jane Austen's 250th birthday is in December, and so we decided to put together a year-long read-along of her novels and some of the writing that inspired her. So our pick for February is Sense and Sensibility, which is her first published novel. For the most part, we're reading these books in publication order. There is one point where we are flip-flopping a couple of them, but for the most part, they're in publication order. And so this is the first one she ever published, and that's the one that we're going to be starting with. This one, I have seen a movie adaptation of this, but I have never read it myself. So I'm really interested to read the novel. And in this book, we have a mother and her 3 daughters who end up being sent away from their home by the girl's half-brother and his wife after their father has passed away. It was understood on their father's deathbed that their half-brother would be taking care of them, but they get sent away to live somewhere else. The mother ends up finding a place to live through one of her cousins, but it's nowhere near as nice as where they used to live. And we're mostly following the 2 older sisters as they're adjusting to life in this new place, and as they're also trying to find husbands. And they go about it in very different ways. So I really enjoyed the adaptation I saw of this, and I am very much looking forward to getting to the novel. Then for the 3rd book, I'm wanting to read one new release every month, and the one that I have chosen for February is Before the King by Heather Kaufman. Now, by new release, I am limiting myself to it has to be a book that was published in the month that I'm planning to read it, or the month before, or the month after. And Before the King released on January 21st, so it did come out the month before I'm planning to read it. And this is the 2nd book in the Women of the Way series. The first book is Up From Dust, which I read last year. That one is following Martha of Bethany, so Martha, who is the sister of Mary and Lazarus in the New Testament. There were parts of the story that I liked. There were parts of it I didn't care for as much. But this one, if I remember correctly, is following someone related to Herod. I don't remember if she's his daughter, if she's a servant. I don't remember how she fits into it, unfortunately. But I know somehow she's related to either Herod or his court. So I'm really curious to read this one. And then the last of the 4 books that are my top priority is the book for my in real life book club that I have with my brother and sister-in-law. We take turns picking books every month, and the book that my brother has picked for February is Enchanted Hill by Emily Bain Murphy. And this one is set in, I want to say the 1930s, but it might be earlier. Yes, in the 1930s in Hollywood. And the main character gets a job as a maid, but she's basically working undercover to try to gain information on this film magnate. And is it film magnate or business? Okay, it just says Hollywood magnate. But she's working there to try to gain some information about him. But then someone that she knows from her past shows up. He's pretending to be someone else too. And while they don't get along, they decide to keep each other's secret until they're each able to figure out what they're trying to figure out. So it sounds really interesting, and sometimes a slightly darker book is really fitting for winter. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one. Then aside from those 4 books, there are 3 challenges that I'm participating in this year. And the first one is the Classics Challenge hosted by Anne from In Search of Wonder. And the prompt for February is to read a Gothic novel. And for that one, I am planning to reread The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. This one I read several years ago, and this is one of very few, if not the only, French classic I have read that didn't get 4 or 5 stars. I read the book and I just thought it was okay. And I don't know if I just went into it with wrong expectations, if I just missed something, I don't know, but it's probably been about 10 years since I read the book. So I've been wanting to reread it for a while, and this felt like the perfect time to do so. I'm looking forward to reading this one, and I'm hoping I enjoy it more the second time than I did the first time. Then the next challenge is Chantel's Read Your Bookshelf Challenge. And for this one, she has just 1-word prompts, and you pick a book that fits that prompt in some way, shape, or form. And the prompt for February is size. And I have 2 different choices for this one. One, I just realized, fits in 2 different ways, but that one is 5 Little Pigs by Agatha Christie. It fits in the fact that there is the word little in the title, which I just now realized, and also the fact that it is one of the shortest books on my shelves, because this one is 185 pages. So it's not very long at all. And I only have 2 more Agatha Christie's on my shelves that I need to get to, so I would really like to get to this one this year. However, that one is not on my winter TBR, and this next book is, and it's also one of the biggest books on my winter TBR, and that is The Storm of Echoes by Christelle Dabeau. And this one I know is over 500 pages. It is 536 pages. So this is one that I was really hoping to get to this winter, and if I can, I would like to work it in, but it is also a bigger book, so I think a lot of it is going to depend on, once I finish the 4 priority books on my list, do I think I'm going to be able to get to this one in full, or should I pick up Agatha Christie instead? So we shall see. Then the last challenge is the Elevate Your Reading Challenge, which is hosted by Angie from Book Mama. And the prompt for February is a traveling book. So a book with traveling in it of some kind. And for this one, I'm pretty sure Cities of Smoke and Starlight will fit that one. If it doesn't, I will pick out another book, but considering the main character is traveling with a pilot, I'm pretty sure it will count. And then for January and February, I'm also hosting a winter treasure hunt. I will have the announcement video for that linked down in the description below in case you missed it. But I have been very, very slowly working my way through this treasure hunt. But I do have a few books on my TBR in February that will work for a few of the prompts I have coming up. So for what I call the creepier house, or the gothic looking house, the first prompt is to read a novel with a gothic feel. And so for that one, I can read The Phantom of the Opera, and it would count for it because it is a gothic novel. Then for the log cabin, the first prompt is to read a book with a mystery, which, yes, the Agatha Christie book would count, but I want to use that for something else. So the one that would count for it instead would be Enchanted Hill. The characters are investigating something, so I guarantee there's some kind of mystery here. And then for the Victorian house, the next prompt I would need to complete is the oldest book on your shelf. And I decided I could go with the book that I have owned the longest that I still haven't read, and that would be Agatha Christie. Either this or Black Coffee. I've owned them both the same amount of time, but I want to get to this one first. So these three are the ones that I know for sure will fit some of those prompts. From there, I'm not entirely certain what I would pick up, but it mostly depends on, do I have time to pick up anything else or not? And again, there is a giveaway with this one, and I can't win it, but it doesn't mean I don't want to participate. Alright, so those are all of the books that I am specifically planning to focus on in February. There are some other things that may come up, although I also just realized I forgot to mention that there's a readathon in February. I don't remember everyone who's involved. I know Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia and Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space are for sure. I don't remember who the other two are, unfortunately, but I will have them all linked down in the description below. But they are hosting Febregency this year, and the only aim with this readathon this year is just to read at least one book that was published during the Regency era. And so Sense and Sensibility will count for that one. I think now those are all of my reading plans for February. And of course the battery dies right as I'm about to film the outro. So if you read any of the books that I talked about today, please let me know what you thought about them down in the comments below. Also let me know what are some of your reading plans for February. And other than that, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.